We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is those were the days, and it is another FACup special. Good evening, George.
Hello, Steve. Hello, everybody.
And we are looking at the next FACup victory and the run that led us to that in 1951-52, George.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, having demolished Blackpool the year before, we now came up against a different squad of players altogether. We came up against Arsenal, who were then in the running for the double. And as with Blackpool, who wanted us to lose because they wanted Stanley Matthews to get a cup medal, the Southern press wanted us to lose because they wanted Arsenal to get the double, and for their captain Joe Mercer to be to get the cup. But it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. And that's the ticket from the actual game, and it's quite a pricey one. I mean, that was thick end of 20%, more than 25% of a week's wages for a ticket for the final. And my father was just lucky to have somebody who could get it. And that's the FA Cup squad, and with all the greats on there. You know, the Seymour's the manager in the middle, and on the far right is Norman Smith, the trainer, and on the left is the chairman of the club. But that's great squad, and I think that particular shirt and setup, and the way that the players turned their socks down those days was very smart. But yeah, now that was a coloured one, which isn't a true coloured picture. It's a black and white one that's been doctored, but nonetheless, it's still nice to see a little bit of colour. And the interestingly put Simpson in a red jumper, which he occasionally used to wear. Normally they wore green jumpers, but Simpson occasionally used to wear a red jumper, which is the significance of that picture. And there's the team that played right through that season in every round of the cup, and actually played in the final as well. And I think the next one's probably the Arsenal squad, which was littered with internationals. and some of them very, very famous, like Joe Mercer, like Wally Barnes, the fullback who was captain of Wales, and others, and Ray Daniel, who played for Wales as well, and a couple of Scots in the forward line too. So it was a star-studded team that, as I say, the Southern press had thought had a golden right to win the cup. That's Jack Fairbrother, the old goalkeeper, and I put that on because it was a time when goalkeepers always seemed to wear polo neck sweaters. An interesting contrast between him and Ronnie Simpson, who took over from him. Ronnie was quite a slight guy, very slim, and only 5'10" tall, but so agile. That's how he got the nickname the Cat. But Jack Fairbrother was the opposite. Jack Fairbrother was a goalkeeper that looked like he'd eaten half of Greg's pies before Greg's pies were invented. He was a big man, but a gentle giant is what I remember. And that's them going out onto Wembley with Seymour leading them out, Joe Harvey just behind for the final. And another coloured version of that, which is makes such a difference when there's a bit of colour in the thing. And being introduced to Winston Churchill, it wasn't the King or a member of the royal family that year. It was Winston Churchill, and shaking hands with Jackie Milburn there, and of course standing by his side, Sir Stanley Rose, who ran football in those days, the old referee, but he was the boss of the FA and was law. What Stanley Rose said went. And that's an unusual one. Very rarely in those days did you get to see the players before the match. Lots of pictures of the dressing room after the match, but to see them before was quite unusual. And the guy in the white coat at the bottom end is Alec Much, the chief physiotherapist, who was torturer in chief, as I remember him. And you then go in and say you wanted to play if you had the slightest injury, because he would find where the pain was and make you squeal before you even got on the pitch. So yeah, but that's an unusual one. Very rarely before the match did you see players. And Joe Mercer and Joe Harvey and Leon Lutey, one of the top referees who took the final, and two great players, and that's the referee again. Always very smart as a referee. Sometimes used to wear a blazer rather than a strip, which was always interesting. The interesting thing about Joe Mercer, that's the third round against Villa. Just one thing about Joe Mercer was that in the '55 final, of course, when that came round, he had moved to Manchester City and he was captain of Manchester City. So we've seen Joe Mercer again. Anyway, third round comes along and it's Aston Villa. Now this is a deadly competition with Aston Villa. I mean, we still have this, and you said it when we were talking recently about Villa, that we have this antipathy with Villa, and people seem to think it goes back to those scenes of Sob on the Tyne. Well, I have to tell you, it goes a lot longer back, and in this match actually shows some of it up. We played Villa at St James's Park, and for the first hour, the match was Villa's. They were giving us a hard time. Our team was Simpson, Cowell, Michael, Harvey, Brennan, Crowe, Tommy Walker, Billy Fuchs, the Welsh international, Jackie Milburn, George Robledo, and Bobby Mitchell. And our manager, of course, was Stan Seymour. Villa was Con Martin, Irish international goalkeeper, Stan Lynn, another Irish fullback, Harry Parks, Danny Blanchflower, who became a great power in football, at Northern Ireland captain as well, and Dickie Dorset, Herbie Smith, and then the next two, Tommy Thompson and Colin Gibson, were both ex-Newcastle players, and there was a bit of spice to that as well. And Johnny Dixon and Bill Griffiths, who was a very talented left winger for Wales. The match was, as I say, for the first hour was Aston Villa's. Now their manager was none other than George Martin, who only a couple of years before had been our manager. And in fact, the two players I've mentioned, he stole from Newcastle United, basically. And George Martin was the Newcastle manager, who was the great singer, and spent 2 weeks once leading the De Rosen Cavalier at the Theatre Royal instead of being manager of Newcastle. He was such a good singer. And he left under peculiar circumstances. He just left. And the first thing Newcastle knew about it was when they turned up on the Monday morning, his letter of resignation was lying on his desk. It could only happen at Newcastle. Nowhere else has got that happen. His letter of resignation was lying on the desk, and basically saying that he was going to Villa because it was a different class of club, which went down like a lead balloon. So here he was back with his new team in the FA Cup. And I have to say, for the first hour, they were giving us a bit of a runaround. Johnny Dixon, their dangerous forward, in 4 minutes, and then again in 13 minutes, put them 2-0 in the lead. And it looked like we were heading for a bit of a shock. However, Bill Fuchs, the Welsh inside right, scored one just after half an hour to make it 2-1 at half time. And the game was progressing. And as I say, even after half time, Villa were in the ascendancy. It was going to be their game. And then, as if by magic, it just seemed to be that when the 10-minute flag went down in the Gallagher corner, there was always a scuffle because people used to start to make their way out religiously on the 10-minute flag. And you could feel the scuffle sometimes, and the murmur, especially when we're losing. There was lots of murmuring going on in the Gallagher corner. Well, just as the flag went down, Bobby Mitchell got into one of his mazy dribbles and beat the right-hand side of the Villa defence twice before whacking the ball into the back of the net to make it 2-2. So the net result was that some of those who decided to go suddenly decided to turn round. So there was all sorts of pushing and shoving in the Gallagher corner. And then to add grist to the mill, within seconds, Milburn got the ball out to Mitchell again, and he repeated the dose. He just went through the Villa defence, like those assaults, and in less than 2 minutes, he suddenly turned it into a 3-2 lead. And after that, it was all us for having struggled the whole match. Suddenly, in the last 10 minutes, we were winning everything, and just before the end, we got a corner, and it was taken by Tommy Walker, who was dead ball specialist, and it planted onto George Robledo's head, and on 86 minutes, bang, it was 4-2 to Newcastle. And it was a surprise because up till Mitchell's goals, we weren't in this game at all. We were heading for problems. During the game, of course, George Martin, this manager who was the singer, wasn't in the paddock, but the paddock behind where the trainers' dugout was for the away team. Every time Martin stuck his head out of the dugout, a lot of the wags in the paddock were shouting, "Give us a song, George! Give us a song," which didn't go down well with George Martin. But at the end of the game, this sigh of relief that we actually got a win in this match was palpable. But nonetheless, just the sheer skill of Bobby Mitchell took Villa by complete surprise and just tore them to shreds. So the next that's got the the Charity Shield, because we played Tottenham in the Charity Shield and lost heavily in the Charity Shield, and was disappointing, but one of those things. But it became important because the next round of the cup, guess who we drew in the cup? And we drew Tottenham, of course. And we went to White Hart Lane with some trepidation, I have to say, particularly as we didn't play very well against Villa, expecting a very tough game. And we went with unchanged team: Simpson, Cowell, McMichael, Harvey, Brennan, and Charlie Crowe wasn't in the half-back line at this game. It was Ted Robledo, and then Tommy Walker, Billy Fuchs, Jackie Milburn, George Robledo, and Bobby Mitchell. And the crowd at White Hart Lane was 69,100 for this particular game. And again, it was one of those that clearly Spurs and the Southern press had expected to win, because we were having just been beaten in the Charity Shield only weeks beforehand. It looked like we might suffer the same fate. Tottenham's manager was a man called Arthur Rowe, regarded as in those days as one of the best coaches in football, and indeed gets a lot of credit for some of the coaching things that the FA adopted later on, and indeed internationally. And here's the Tottenham team: Ted Ditchburn, international goalkeeper; Alf Ramsey, who was to become our manager of our World Cup winning team; Charlie Withers; Bill Nicholson, who was to come back and manage the famous Spurs double team, and he was England halfback as well; Harry Clark, centre back; Eddie Bailey, England international inside forward; Len Dukeman, the centre forward, was very dangerous; Tommy Harmer, a diminutive little player who was with great skill; and Lee Medley. They were a very talented side, and had given us 1,000 in the Charity Shield. And as I say, it was no surprise that the Southern press were expecting that we would struggle in this one. Well, that's not how it was to be. On 13 minutes, we got a corner, and the prescription was just right. That Tommy Walker took the corner, and it landed right at George Robledo's feet, and he dispatched it in on 13 minutes to give us a 1-0 lead. And then after some end-to-end stuff, both teams having opportunities, Bobby Mitchell got free on the left-hand side and cut in from the left and planted a left foot shot underneath Ditchburn to make it 2-0, and that's how it stayed till half-time. And second half, Spurs came out full of gusto, ready to give us another good game, but we very quickly knocked them back, and they were struggling with Mitchell on one side and Milburn through the middle and Tommy Walker down the right. And of course, hanging around the penalty area and the goal area all the time was George Robledo, who in this particular season was challenging Jackie Milburn to be the top scorer in the team. And on 70 minutes, he got free, George Robledo, from a through ball from Tommy Walker, and made it 3-0. And the scoreline surprised lots of people, not least all of the Southern press, the Tottenham players, and some Newcastle supporters as well, because as I say, just a few weeks earlier we hadn't been able to get near them in the Charity Shield. So we move on to the next one, which is Portsmouth. the 40. Are they? There's a one before that, Steve. It's Swansea, and I must have.
I don't have a Swansea. I don't have a Swansea program, George. I'm afraid. I just have three different versions of the Portsmouth game.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the next round we do Swansea, but away again, and people were a bit fed up with all the away games, but Swansea were second division, so people still thought we should have a good chance, and we go with an unchanged team again, the same 11: Simpson, Cowell, Michael, Harvey, Brennan, Ted Robledo has taken over from Charlie Crowe regularly now, Tommy Walker, Billy Fuchs, Jackie Milburn, George Robledo, and Bobby Mitchell. And at the Vetch Field, which was their ground in those days, nearly 30,000, which was their biggest crowd of the season that particular year. And the Swansea team, which was managed by Bill McCandless, an old Liverpool player, was John King, who was the Welsh goalkeeper, Rory Keane, Gilbert Beach, Darwell Williams, Reg Weston, Billy Lucas, who was a Welsh international, Frank Skeen, Ronnie Turnbull, and a young man called Ivor Allchurch, who was their star player, Welsh international, who, of course, shortly after this period, was to become a Newcastle player, brought to Newcastle by Charlie Mitten, which I remember quite vividly. But like a lot of players, we got Ivor Allchurch on the wrong side of his career. We missed the best of Ivor Allchurch, but he was good with us as well. And Alfred Bellis, who was another Welsh international. So a nice star-studded Swansea team, but not one that should beat us. As I say, 30,000 for them was a huge crowd. But the game itself was very, very dull. It looked like it had 0-0 written all over it, but it was inevitable that it was going to take something special to break the deadlock. And of course, in Bobby Mitchell, we had the man who could open any defence. And on 41 minutes, just before half time, he danced through the Swansea defence and just simply played the ball in the bottom corner, with King, the goalkeeper, not getting anywhere near it. So we went in at half time 1-0 and relieved, because it had been fairly hard work up till then. Second half was no better. We struggled to make any impression against them, but we were able to hold out and get the 1-0 victory and progress through to the quarter final of the FA Cup. So a win, but a very dour one. The quarter final was Portsmouth, which was the program that you had on, Steve. I put the other pictures in because it just shows the inside of the program, the whole thing, which some people like to see. Again, away from home, so we're really earning this cup run. And Portsmouth were were first division and hadn't long been first division champions. The Portsmouth team was Ernie Butler, Phil Gunther, Harry Ferrier, and their captain and right-sided midfielder, a man called Jimmy Schooler. Centre back was Jack Froggatt, and the next half-back was Jimmy Dickinson, the England half-back. Peter Harris was an England player. Dougie Reid was an England centre-forward. Jackie Henderson, Len Phillips, and Marcel Gallard, an unusual French player that was playing in the Premiership in those days. Portsmouth were, as I say, heading for the championship as well, and were thought to be in a position where they could possibly turn us over. Our team was unchanged, and was still with George Robledo in the side, and Walker, Fuchs, Milburn, Robledo, and Mitchell still the same forward line. And it was an entertaining game. The crowd at Fratton Park was 45,000, which was their biggest of the year. And it got off to a flying start as far as Portsmouth were concerned, because Marcel Galliard, their dangerous left-sided attacker, on 4 minutes made it 1-0 and sent shivers down the spine of the travelling Geordies. It looked like that's where it was going to stay until on 40 minutes, Jackie Milburn broke through and from the edge of the penalty area sent in a crashing shot underneath the goalkeeper to make it 1-1 at half time. The came out at half time, and we were much more livelier in the second half, and it was no surprise when on 61 minutes again Jackie Milburn got loose and fired in a thunderous shot from inside the box on 61 minutes to make it 2-1, and we thought we were home and free, but Dougie Reid, their big centre forward, broke loose at a corner, and for once left Frank Brennan for dead, and equalised it on 69 minutes to make it 2-2. Then after that, it became the Jackie Milburn show. He took the game by the scruff of the neck and tore Portsmouth apart. And it was no surprise on 80 minutes when he completed his hat trick with another thunderous shot from outside the area, leaving the goalkeeper Ernie Butler with just standing looking, and not able to get anywhere near the ball. And so we get a 3-2 lead. And from then on to the end of the game, it's all Newcastle pressure. And no surprise on 88 minutes when a through ball by Walker is fastened on by George Robledo, and it becomes 4-2 to Newcastle United. A bigger victory than anybody anticipated, I think, even Newcastle fans, because they were, as I say, they were heading to be one of the league champions of that particular season, and they didn't make it that year, but they did the year after. And of course, their captain Jimmy Schooler was to leave, and Seymour persuaded him to come to Newcastle, and he did, and became our captain for another final. So that was the quarter final against Portsmouth. Semi final, we drew Blackburn Rovers, and it was another good team. The first Blackburn program, that's the genuine one. In those days, the clubs sometimes produced their own, and the first one was Blackburn's own program. We went with to Hillsborough, 65,000, which Hillsborough was traditionally one of the semi-final grounds. And referee was Reg Leaf, who was quite famous in those days. One of the unusual referees of the day, who was happy to talk to the press occasionally, and used to get him into all sorts of bother. We were unchanged: Simpson, Cowell, McMichael, Harvey, Brennan, Robledo, Ted Robledo, Walker, Fuchs, Milburn, George Robledo, and Bobby Mitchell. We went again against the Blackburn Rovers side, which was littered with internationals. Reg Elvey in goal, Ron Stewart, Bill Eckersley, England left back, Jackie Campbell, England wing half. Ronnie Clayton, who for nearly 10 years was the engine room in the England midfield. Jack Warden, Eddie Crossan, who was a brilliant Irish international forward, and on the left side, Alec Glover, who was a Welsh international winger. So stars stood aside, both of them. But on this day, playing out what was a very sterile 0-0. Not a lot of chances, but a lot just the two teams just stifling each other, and even the skill of Milburn and Mitchell couldn't break the deadlock. So we ended up with a semi-final, which was for once a very dull 0-0, which was unusual for any FACup game, but particularly for a semi-final. So we had to go to a replay, and the replay was held at Elland Road at Leeds United's ground, and 54,000 at Elland Road on the Wednesday night, straight after the Saturday at Hillsborough. We went unchanged, exactly the same team as played in the original game, and referee was the same, Reg Leaf, who refereed the original game, and Blackburn had one change. At right back, they had Davy Gray, the Scottish international, in there, but the rest of the team was as was in the original match. So two teams which were knew a lot about each other. As I say, 54,000 in Elland Road for this game, and well, for a while it looked like it may be another 0-0. And it got to half time at 0-0, pretty dour stuff. But then in the second half, it looked like Newcastle were turning things around, and none other than George Robledo on 56 minutes, with a header from a corner, made it 1-0, and on 56 minutes we got 1-0. And then just as we were getting used to the notion we'd win, Eddie Quigley, the dangerous Blackburn forward, headed in similarly from a corner, and on 77 minutes it became 1-1. The game was fast and furious after that, both teams having chances, and then Jackie Milburn dashed through the Blackburn defence and was just about to shoot when he was upended by Bill Eckersley, their international England international left back, and it was a penalty. And up stepped Bobby Mitchell, who was a penalty expert in those days, and on 86 minutes it was 2-1, and there we were winning another trip to Wembley. It's worth saying that there was a lot of crowd banter in this match against the Blackburn in England left back called Bill Eckersley, because prior to this semi-final, Stan Seymour, there he is there, Stan Seymour had tried to buy him, and everything seemed signed, sealed and delivered, until suddenly announced that he wasn't going to come to Newcastle because his wife didn't like Newcastle, and that was the end of that. But you can imagine some of the banter in the crowd when Eckersley got anywhere near them about his wife not wanting him to come to Newcastle. But it started off quite a dour game in the second half, really interesting, and in the end, a very good win for Newcastle United. And there's the inside of the programme, and the names, which of course are carved in stone for most of us. And as I say, that even the referee, a man of reputation. Unusually in those days, that very rarely did referees ever talk to the talk to the press, but Leaf did. And so here we were in another final, second year running, and against the mighty Arsenal. And in those days, I think I've said this to people before, we never just talked about Arsenal. When they talked about them, it was the Arsenal, because they were regarded as being so different in terms of club. Their behaviour on and off the field was always exemplary. And so they carried a kind of respect that other clubs didn't do. And it was like that for many years. I think when I see the way the current Arsenal manager behaves, some of the great managers like Bertie Mee and Tom Whittaker, who's the manager in this game, he would turn in the grave, and Dean, the father of the Dean who's on the board now, again would turn in their grave because of the way they behave now. But the Arsenal they were, and it was Saturday the 3rd of May at Wembley, 100,000 in the ground, and 100,000, and again, like in the previous year, only 12,000 tickets for the away fans, for Newcastle and for any fans, for Arsenal fans as well. And all the rest distributed throughout the country to various other causes. My dad was lucky; he had this contact that could get him a ticket, and the same guy got him the ticket again, and indeed made the same mistake in asking him how many tickets he wanted. My father could hardly afford one, never mind any more. He also went to the match with his bosses, his manager of his workshop he was at Parsons Marine by then, ringing in his ears saying, "If you're not back on Monday morning, Mitchell, you don't bother coming back, you lose your job." So he went off on Friday lunchtime with that ringing in his ears to hitchhike to Wembley, and as in the previous year, managed to get there on time. The Arsenal side is George Swindon, international goalkeeper, Brady, Irish fullback, Short, Alec Forbes, Scottish wing halfback, Ray Daniel, the Welsh captain, Joe Mercer, their captain, Jimmy Logie, a very, very talented Scottish player, Eddie Hapgood, who came back as a manager, brilliant England player, Doug Lishman, another Scottish international, and Don Roper on wide on the left, who also played for England. So they were star-studded. But then some would say, well, so are we by now, because all of our players gaining great reputations. And we went with Simpson, Cowell, Michael, Harvey, Brennan, Ted Robledo, Tommy Walker, Bill Fuchs, Jackie Milburn, George Robledo, and Bobby Mitchell. And and the referee was a man called Arthur Ellis, who was the Diane of referees in those days. He was such a great character and well thought of. It was some good football, but tragically for Arsenal, their right fullback, in trying to Brady, in trying to upend Bobby Mitchell, because teams occasionally used to try and kick Bobby Mitchell out of the game because he was quite a slight figure, although he was quite tall, and they used to think they could kick him out of the game. Well, that usually resulted in Joe Harvey doing something about that, but this guy went in so hard on Bobby Mitchell, he twisted his knee, and so was injured himself. He didn't have to go off, but he clearly was a bit of a passenger and had to be switched further up the field and out of the defence. So we had this spectacle of Arsenal defending very, very deeply very early on. And it wasn't a brilliant game. It was a bit of a dour game with odd flashes of brilliance from some of the stars on the team, like Logie for Arsenal and Mitchell for Newcastle, but nobody actually making much inroads towards the goal. And it looked like we were going to have a 0-0, which at the final would have been extremely unusual. And in those days, where nowadays they would play extra time and penalties, in those days it was a replay, and probably a replay not at Wembley but somewhere else. But as the game wore on, it was clear that having been down to effectively 10 men for most of the match, the Arsenal defence were getting a little tired. And Milburn's pace and Mitchell's trickery was causing them all sorts of trouble. And it was a very deep cross from right by Jackie Milburn onto the head of George Robledo in 85 minutes. And it signalled a 1-0 victory over Arsenal for us. And effectively meant that Robledo managed to score either in each round or in the replays of each round of the cup, and we win our trophy for the second year running. There's Jackie Milburn in the Arsenal penalty era, giving them great problems. There was this myth that Milburn couldn't head the ball, which in later years they used. He was a brilliant header of the ball if it was put in the right place, and that's Ronnie Simpson taking the ball from Arsenal. I think that's Jimmy Logie trying to get through there. And there's the header from George Robledo for the goal. A brilliant header that it was. But that was his style. That was and there it is, running into the net with Milburn at number 9 there, looking suspiciously offside. But Ronnie Simpson making a save from a back pass. I think that's Joe Harvey getting the that I think is the colour edition of a similar photo that I showed earlier on, but it's Jimmy Logie and Ronnie Simpson collecting the ball. And there's Joe Harvey taking the ball taking the cup rather from Sir Winston Churchill with Sir Stanley Rouse standing smiling beside him. And behind Harvey, of course, Jackie Milburn in the dressing room with the winning team. I've often said to people that if you look at the dressing room pictures of the cup winners, the only person you'll see with his shirt off is Jackie Milburn, and there he is with his shirt off, because in those days he was the only one that had a six-pack, the only one that did different training to all of the others. All the others were likely to have had a bit of a beer belly. Where Jackie was a perfect athlete, and there they were in the picture. Of course, there's Seymour at the back. Behind Seymour on the white coat is Alec Much, the physiotherapist, and the other guy is Norman Smith, who was the trainer, who ultimately in his later career became our manager. And the traditional carrying the captain round the pitch on the shoulders. That's not something I remember seeing the modern teams do at all. They tend to go around as a group and take turns at holding the cup. But that tradition of hoisting the captain up was the one that was popular in those days. But of course, you had to have a Frank Brennan and a George Robledo who were built like the proverbial to be able to support somebody like a 6-footer like Joe Harvey on their shoulders anyway. And there he is, the Joe's moment, one of his moments of glory for Newcastle United. The winners' medal of which some of our players now have 2 and looking for another one. And the parade, and you can see just by looking at the crowd absolutely at Central Station, completely swamping the roadways, and it was like that all the way up to St James's Park. I remember my father sticking me on my shoulders. Actually, it wasn't far from the Irish, well, up Gallagher, not far from the Irish Centre where we stood and watched them take the bus into the team into St James's Park, which of course was absolutely packed. And there's the mascot on the coach. They allowed on the coach to go with the team, just great scenes, good memories. But we've always had this ability to celebrate our wins and sometimes celebrate our losses as well. This is there because this is the team, the winning team with the cup. And one of the deals that Seymour negotiated, a big money deal, was a big sponsored trip to South Africa, and it was sponsored by the British Empire Tobacco Company. So players got everything that they wanted. They got clothes, they got and of course oodles of free cigarettes as well. A 30-day tour of Africa, 19 games in 30 days, and travelled over 7,000 miles in those 13 days by train, by air, by bus, you name it, they did the lot, which was incredible, but it made Newcastle an awful lot of money. The one thing you could say about Seymour, he wasn't a very popular man, but he knew how to make money for the lads, and that's the significance of that particular picture. I think when I did Those Were the Days for that particular season, I actually talked about that tour. The downside was when they came back, they were knackered. They weren't ready for the next season. They were absolutely knackered. Now, that's the picture of the Robledo goal painted by John Lennon when he was a little boy, when he was a young boy, aged 11, I think it says there. And they later used it as a cover for a Beatles record. So it got put into legend thanks to the Beatles, thanks to John Lennon, because that particular occasion obviously struck him so hard that he turned it into a painting, which, as I say, became a cover of one of their albums, and stays in legend for us as well. So there you are.
Great stuff, George. Another final done. Looking forward to the next time we do Those Were the Days, when we'll be looking at the 1955 FA Cup final. Cannot wait, George.
Well, I think it's good to reflect. As I say, I've done these because people have said, well, what's the comparison between now and, because we won the Carabao Cup and what it was like in the 50s. Well, the comparison is, you can see the celebrations were every bit as joyful as we've had this time. But more importantly, this time's a start. Those times it was an end. Once the final was over, you just got ready for the next one. Where this Carabao Cup's a start for us, and start of something good, I hope. So let's look forward to the next one.
Thanks again, George. Take care.
My pleasure. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks, Steve.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk.